being recorded. Oh, and by the end of the meeting, you are going to have the slide as well, so don't worry. If I didn't upload it, please let me know. Okay, so if at some point the slide doesn't change, please let me know. Leading from Within, this was written by Colzo, and this book is basically talking about how to build organizational leadership capacity. And we are going to see that. So why do we have to read another book on leadership? There are lots of books about leadership, and you have probably read a few. Probably you're getting sick by that. So why another book on leadership? So, you know, literally, well, I just used the word literally, that's okay. Literally, hundreds of books on this topic graze the shelves of bookstores and libraries, okay? So it's everywhere. Communities across the nation offer annual training, training programs to improve civic leadership for government workers. And then various state and local governments send their staff through leadership classes. They have corporate trainings as well, programs that focus on leadership development. Leadership courses abound in adult education and so on and so forth. There's lots of them. But the premise of this book is that despite all of the attention to leadership development, there are non-profit communities and economic development organizations and government agencies, that could benefit from a more directed and structured program to develop effective leaders within and throughout their organization, and thereby improve the quality of their operation. Studies have consistently demonstrated that organizations that prioritize leadership development are much more effective in meeting the expectations of their constituents, their stakeholders, and their customers. It's been said that the better leadership, the better the organization is able to collectively right the challenges of difficult times. Now, basically, according to Bersin and Associates, they had a study which is entitled High Impact Leadership Development in 2008. An organizer's focus on leadership development will result in becoming 84% more effective at raising the quality of their leadership pipeline, and then 73% increase in employee retention, and 67% increase in the ability of the organization's members to work collaboratively. And the other 66% is the improvement in the organizational results. And according to the 2008 IBM Global Human Capital Study, there are over 75% of the respondents identified building leadership talent as their current and most significant capabilities challenge. Okay, so it's really beneficial for people. Leaders today sometimes appear to be an endangered species. That's what they believe. The second most important capacity building challenge facing organizations in this study was fostering a culture that supports learning and development. Clearly, these two key challenges are closely related. This is just a slide that would make it pretty cool, I think. Sorry, shouldn't joke around because it's recorded. According to Dave Ulrich, he's a Global Consulting Alliance. I mean, he works for a global consulting alliance. Leadership is like the inner working of a computer. It's a complex set of relationships, systems, and processes that few fully master. So basically, leadership is the CPU of your computer, to put it in layman terms. The organizational life today is often a complex social environment of confrontations, miscommunication, manipulation, hostility, and conflict. Does that sound like an exaggeration? I don't think so, because there's a lot of soap opera which also encompasses these complex social environment, especially South Korean soap opera, or what you would refer to as a K-drama. Anyway, take a good look at most organizations, okay? We don't have to look very far. I'm pretty sure that most of you are involved in the organizations in many ways. There are student organizations and university organizations. So much of what takes place in virtually all organizations is grounded in the interrelationship of its members. And all human relationships have problems. That was pretty good. These interactions involve the work that is done, the goals that are set, and the decisions that are made. Without effective leadership, members of an organization often quickly degenerate into argument and conflict because they see things in different ways and lean toward different solutions. So what are the main problems? The core criticism of organizations in a lot of literature is that all sorts of them, whether it be corporations, government agencies, or non-profit organizations, they tend to be overmanaged and underled. Those organizations suffering from overmanagement tend to be slow to make necessary changes, and therefore they achieve less than what they could. In the organizations that are characterized by poor leadership, employees see very little that is positive. In a climate of distrust, employees learn that so-called leaders will act in ways that are not easily understood or that do not seem to be in the organization's best interest. In other words, poor leadership leads to an abandonment of hope, which, if allowed to go on for too long, it will result in an organization becoming completely dysfunctional. Okay. I couldn't agree more with this. And as a consequence, the organization must then deal with the practical impact of unpleasant change. But more importantly, they must labor under the burden of employees who have given up. Okay. And have no faith in the system or in the ability of leaders to turn the organizations around, which means the end, basically. All of these that has been said is a substantial criticism that points to the importance of leadership. So what makes an excellent organization? Most organizations would say that they're interested in becoming more effective and therefore more excellent. Okay. This is almost impossible without competent leadership. Barbara Blumenthal, she's a reporter, and she also wrote a book called Investing in Capacity Building. She argued that capacity building interventions often fail if strong organizational leadership is not in place. So it's really needed. And the government official, the agency manager, the economic developer, the chamber executive, and all staff in this new knowledge-based environment will need to assume the role of active networker and facilitator, both within his or her organization and with stakeholders and constituents. So basically, everyone needs to be a leader. Excellence means that top leadership does a number of things well, including creating a learning organization that trains and retains its talent, for example. This is what it takes to achieve an organization that has a culture of character and integrity. Sorry, I just said integrity. No, it's supposed to be integrity. Anyway, a primary concern of most organizations today is the attraction and retention of talented people. However, they generally want to work for good leaders in an open environment where they can speak their minds freely, okay, be treated with respect, and where leadership promotes clarity and honesty. Hang on. So nobody actually want to work with bad leaders. Yeah. Why nobody wants to work with bad leaders? Because bad leaders are corrosive to an organizations because they can drive out anyone who's good. Unfortunately, since many bad leaders are manipulative and deceptive, it is often a challenge to root them out and get rid of them. The lack of positive and effective leadership is a key reason why many talented workers leave the organization. Yeah, so basically, according to James Cosenberry Posner, the two names that you're going to forget anyway, they argue that leadership is not a place. It's not a place. It's a process, which means that you can't be born with the leadership capabilities. It has to be experienced and, if possible, taught. Given that everyone has the capacity for leadership at some level, it would seem that the absence of leadership in an organization shouldn't be a problem. However, it is likely, or is very unlikely, that everyone will become a leader. Unfortunately, too many people lack the will to change or to develop their leadership potential. It is often easier to, just go with the flow and be content with whatever you have right now, whatever circumstances are you in. Basically speaking, it is okay to live in your safety net, or safe zone or comfort zone, if you want to call it that way. But even if you are content with your comfort zone, many would rather complain about their situation than do what is necessary to actually change it. So some people would just be complaining about how unfit their life are, or what kind of shitty life. Sorry, did I just say city? What kind of unfortunate life that they are living at the moment. It's being recorded. But yeah, so don't just complain, but change things. And that is to follow the path of a leader. So becoming a leader is not something that is given. Becoming a leader is something that you have to fight for, which means that having the will to pursue the path that builds that competency and capacity that you need to be a good leader. This path, however, is not an easy one, and it's not quickly mastered. Most scholars agree that there's no magic bullet or single set of principles or behaviors that leads to effective leadership. Instead, it's becoming increasingly understood that the most effective leadership style in a given situation respond to what is needed. This could be a function of the task required, for example, or the organization's culture, or the leader's subordinates, and the attributes of the leader himself or herself. Furthermore, the development of leadership is an ongoing process, okay, not an event or the implementation of a specific program. The complexity of leadership and its development will be dealt with at length, okay, as we go through this course. What I have said is essentially how to or why to sort of guide on developing effective leadership within the organization. What I have here, or what I am trying to convey here, is not case studies, things that happens or examples that happen in the real life, but instead it's a set of principles and practice meant to clarify the nature and role of building leaders, and to provide a pragmatic approach for effectively creating a higher level organization leadership capacity. It should be noted that there is a difference between principles and practice. Practice is a specific activity or action, and it needs to be guided by the situation. But principles, on the other hand, are deep fundamentals and timeless truth that have application to any and all organization, which means that it's universal. Allowing people to actually make good decisions. These principles will remain true and relevant no matter how the world changes. If you internalize this into your behavior or into your habits, they become part of your values and foster the creation of a wide variety of practices to deal with different situations. So basically, it's going to be able to prepare you to some point, okay? Because not any of you, not all of you, I mean, have the same experiences in life. An example of this principle is the integrity, okay? People need to have integrity to lead a variety of practices that demonstrate honesty in the range of different situations. So basically, one word that you want to remember today is integrity. Obviously, the more we know and understand key principles to be an effective leader, the greater is our freedom to act wisely. It's important to keep in mind that it takes time to develop this wisdom, and that leads to the strengthening of organizational performance, your overall performance, and this kind of work is never complete. And obviously, there's no quick fix, to becoming an effective leader. So we just have to experience it for ourselves, as well as correcting ourselves as we go. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, you can turn on your microphone. And with that being said, I am going to start recording.